The day has finally arrived. Our wait is over, and so it is for the drivers. On the streets of São Paulo, Brazil, the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series opener is less than half an hour away from the green flag. The streets of São Paulo, Brazil, the third largest city in the world. They've constructed a 2.6-mile, 11-turn circuit for today's season opener. A slippery section of the track, however, yesterday postponed qualifying until today. The section included the area at the start-finish line, and drivers just couldn't get any grip coming off turn number 11. Here's Helio Castroneves fighting it in fifth gear. Ryan Briscoe is one of several drivers to spin and brush the wall on the front stretch. So Brian Barnhart, the president of competition for the IZOD IndyCar Series, brought in some heavy equipment overnight and ground down a section of the track to give it more grip for the drivers. Jan, the drivers had a short practice period this morning before qualifying.
And Bob, of course, those changes on that straightaway transformed the racetrack. They got racy right away. Rafael Matos got a bit of the chrome horn there from Marco Andretti. No harm, no foul. It was just practice, but people knew this was the day they had to get it done. In qualifying, unfortunate for Mike Conway. He already had a time that would have advanced him to the next group, but he got into the tires, didn't really damage the car, but he lost his fastest speed. Getting up to the final group in the top 6, Ryan Hunter-Reay making his debut for Andretti Autosport, and a brand new debut for a new team. Alex Tagliani qualified on the front row. Fantastic results, and maybe not surprising, the master of street and road course qualifying, Dario Franchitti, put it on the top of the podium.
So for the first time ever, the IZOD IndyCar Series qualify and will race in the same day. The 24-car field led by defending series champion Dario Franchitti. The top 6 represented by 5 different teams. Only Andretti Autosport has 2 and 6 different countries. One home country driver, Tony Kanaan. Jack is with the guy who has picked up right where he left off last year. Jack?
Well, Bob, the winner of the first Peak Pole Award for the season is Dario Franchitti. And Dario, let's go back 24 hours ago. You were pretty outspoken about the condition of this racetrack. Now, how about it?
Absolutely, but a lot of work went into it last night from the organizers, and got to take my hat off to Brian Barnhart, because he had some pretty big attachments to cancel qualifying, make the call that he did to cancel qualifying, and they spent all night fixing that thing. I think the 2-seater was out at 5 o'clock this morning fixing the track. So I really think I've got to take my hat off to them. But for us, the target car was struggling yesterday, and Dixie was just flying. So we sat and we worked it out, and everybody. You're
not telling me you stole his setup for this qualifying, did you?
No, actually I didn't. We went completely the other way, because what Scott likes I generally don't like. So we went the other way, and it really worked. Although I did steal his technique at turn 10 there, so I've got to thank him for that.
Real quickly, what will the configuration of the car for the race be comparable to what just won you the pole?
It's a good question. We haven't got much time to fix it, but obviously the big passing spots at the end of these 2 very long straights, so we have to decide whether we're going to trim out or not. We're not sure yet.
Bob, that's one of the facts of the day. When you qualify on the same day that you have to run the race, how many adjustments can you make?
Exactly, Jack. So will 2010 be a repeat for the outstanding season that Target Chip Ganassi team had last year with Franchitti and Scott Dixon?
Dario Franchitti has won the 35th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach.
His 11th win on an oval.
Dario Franchitti will drive into victory lane at Iowa Speedway. Scott Dixon out in front. They call him the Iceman, and once again he is in victory lane. Dario Franchitti started on pole, and Dario Franchitti will go to Edmonton with the IndyCar Series championship lead.
Scott Dixon, his 5th win of the season.
Dario Franchitti is back, and he is a champion in 2009.
5 wins, both of the drivers last year, with a big win, of course, for Dario at the closer at Homestead Miami Speedway that gave him his second IZOD IndyCar Series championship. The Brazilian crowd has turned out in huge numbers for this event, the first on South American soil for the IZOD IndyCar Series, hoping that one of their own will take the checkered flag first today.
São Paulo, Brazil. Coming back to the streets of São Paulo, the place that I actually start racing, and having my family, my friends there, giving the opportunity for the Brazilian fans to see what the American fans are able to see all the time over there.
The Americans won't get any sympathy. I mean, they're going to be all for the Brazilians, and maybe they see a Brazilian win.
My family will be there, everybody's going to be there, so a lot of expectation.
It means a lot. I raced in São Paulo basically my whole childhood. Coming back now will bring back a lot of my memories for sure.
I can't wait. I just can't wait to be on the race, our first of season and in Brazil.
Is the annual festival in Brazil commemorating the 40 days of Lent leading up to Easter. It's similar to Mardi Gras here in the U.S. In Sao Paulo, the event takes place at the Sambadrome beginning in February and is the most famous holiday in Brazil, accounting for 70% of its annual tourism. It just so happens that the Sambadrome area is the section of racetrack at the start-finish line. There'll be no parades today, but hopefully a lot of excitement for the fans. Will Power will start 5th today in the Verizon Team Penske entry. His 2009 season included a big up, but also a big down.
Will Power has been the man to beat this weekend, and Team Penske has been the team to beat. The yellow car running all by his lonesome in only his 5th start, driving for Penske, a dominating performance, and he has won the Rexall Edmonton Indy.
Nelson Philippe got off track at turn number 4. Will Power comes over the hill and makes heavy contact with the right side of Nelson Philippe's car. Will Power has compression fractures at L2 and L4 in his back and a concussion. Both are expected to fully recuperate.
Well, Will Power's... Well, Bob, the winner of the first Peak Pole Award for the season is... Well, Will Power is back, and back with a vengeance, with a full season on his calendar with the Penske Verizon team. But Will, simply to get out and qualify today was quite a challenge for you. What happened?
Yeah, you know, full credit to the guys to get that car pulled apart, the whole gearbox, change something and get it back out in a matter of probably 40 minutes. So we were lucky to get out there, really happy to get to the Fast 6. And I think it's tough if you have to do the Fast 6 and then go race. I think the other guys who didn't make it have a little bit of an advantage.
Let's talk for a moment about the way you see this race unfold. The fact that, you know, you're qualifying and practicing, and basically this is the first time everybody's got to see the track. You kind of wash out yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, this is unique the way that it's been done today. You know, I think the race today is going to be really good. It's going to be tough because I think there's going to be a lot of passing. Very tiring because it's hot, and you'll probably see a lot of mistakes from people. So,
well, what is it going to take for Will Power to win?
Man, I think it's just going to be a good strategy, no mistakes, and have everything go right on the day.
Good luck, Will.
Thank you very much.
Will accounted for one of the wins for the Roger Penske team last year. Ryan Briscoe finished 3rd in points, Elio 4th, even though he missed the first race of the year. Well, there is no more Andretti Green racing in the IZOD IndyCar Series. It's Andretti Autosport. It will be a 4-car team, but hopefully with better results from last year.
Rio de Janeiro.
The country of Brazil will be hosting the 2016 Olympic Games. That announcement made last October, adding to a busy slate of sporting events, including the 2014 World Cup of Soccer and, of course, today's IZOD IndyCar Series event in the streets of Sao Paulo. 24 drivers waiting for the start of today's race just a few minutes away. 2009 was not a stellar season for Andretti Green Racing. No wins for the team last year, but 3 of the 4 drivers did finish in the top 10, and the 4th was 11th in points. But now Michael Andretti is sole owner of the team and trying to turn things around. Moments ago, Jack caught up with one of the team's drivers.
And Bob, one of the leaders of Andretti Autosports for the GoDaddy.com specialist, Danica Patrick. And Danica has already had a full season of preparation for IndyCar competition in stock cars. And it makes me wonder, Danica, just how difficult it is to transition between the two.
I think it's been fine. You know, I think that the more driving, the better. And, you know, I've kind of been in race mode for a couple of months now. So they're definitely different cars, but they're different enough to be able to separate the two. And so I think it's not too bad.
Let's talk a little bit about what's necessary in terms of race mode here for Brazil, because let's face it, things are entirely different than what we had expected.
Yeah, well, I think there's been a lot of things that have been much better than I expected here. There was obviously the situation with the front straight not being able to get flat, which was pretty sad, but they fixed it, so that's okay. You know, I think at the end of the day, they've done a pretty good job. This is the first event here, first event I've been to anyway, and you know, everything's been pretty smooth.
Thanks, Danica. Bob?
Danica, one of 4 women in today's race. 2 others, Anna Beatrice and Simona Di Silvestro, are making their series debut. Milka Duno is with Dale Coyne Racing this year. Anna is a graduate of the Firestone Indy Light Series, and she's the only Brazilian among the 4 hoping for a good finish before her home country fans. One of the greatest drivers of all time, Emerson Fittipaldi, started the trend of Brazilian drivers in U.S. open wheel racing, but several others, including Helio Castroneves and Tony Kanaan, have followed and made a big impact on the sport. Helio has accomplished many things in his career. We thought it might be fun to see how well Helio could draw the layout of the track that he'll be racing on today. Blindfolded.
There we go in São Paulo. Turn a little first chicane and then a right corner. Then you go a little bit and then left again. And then right. I think I made a little bit straight too much, but it's okay. I don't know. Always straight away. And then you brake. Okay, brake really hard, turn right. And then you turn right again. Somehow I feel that the track's still there, but I don't know. So you're going through section 6, 7, 8, and then I think I made a mistake already. Long straight away until we get like a huge braking point. Ding, ding, ding. And then we go back again, and that's it. I think whoa! As you can see, drivers cannot drive, at least me, with my eyes shut. So hopefully my eyes will be big and ready to run.
Hope he drives better than he draws. Helio warmly greeted moments ago when he was introduced to the Brazilian fans. We'll be right back. Welcome back to São Paulo Indy 300 from the streets of São Paulo, Brazil. The 2010 IndyCar Series begins with 4 drivers making their debut. 7 others have moved to a new team since last year. Among them, Hideki Muto, who was with Andretti Green Racing last year, moving to Newman Haas Lanigan, and Justin Wilson, who got the victory for Dale Coyne last year. He has moved to the Dreyer and Reinbold Racing team. Simona Di Silvestro driving for HBM. Alex Tagliani, we've already talked about him. He had a great qualifying effort for that brand new team. The command to get this event started is just a few moments away. Stay with us for the start of the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series on Versus. The 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series begins to the samba of South American São Paulo, Brazil.
The best of the best open wheel racers in the world.
For 7 drivers, it's the battle of Brazilian turf.
São Paulo, Brazil, here I come.
But for others, it's a hunger for more hardware.
Dario Franchitti is back, and he is a champion in 2009.
A thirst for a season championship salvation for some.
Get the cameras out for a photo finish. Briscoe got him.
A homecoming for the busiest driver.
Danica Patrick wins at Twin Ring Motegi.
And and a quest for a series title from a 3-time 500 champ.
Helio Castro-Neves.
You guys don't understand.
The streets of Sao Paulo meet the speeds of sheer nerves.
You've got to be fearless. You've got to be determined. You've got to be driven.
It's the first American open-wheel race in the country in a mere decade. The most competitive IndyCar Series yet.
It's the season opener.
Today on Versus.
Well, the winter went relatively quick, but I'm ready for some racing. How about you? The Sao Paulo Indy 300 is about to get the command to start engines. We have had sunshine all day yesterday and up until about an hour ago. But now some sprinkles are being felt in sections of the racetrack, all adding to the drama of what could be a very exciting afternoon of racing. It's a very, very competitive racetrack, 2.6 miles in length, 11 turns, but a lot of passing zones that we will be looking quite closely for today. The Brazilian fans are here in huge numbers. And Jan Robbie, hi, welcome.
Well, the reason that they wouldn't go immediately to the command is that race control will have to decide, is there enough rain to mandate rain tires? So they typically will hold to find out if sprinkles turn into rain. If it gets completely wet, they won't want people to take a risk to start on slicks. They make them start on wets.
And to this point, we've heard these drivers, they love this racetrack, but the one thing they've been searching for is grip. How I get grip here. They got to have downforce in the car to give them that grip. Now you throw a little bit of rain at it, it just makes it slicker than get out.
There you see the field assembled 2x2, 24 cars strong, with the pole being held by Dario Franchitti, Alex Tagliani in the outside of row number 1. And there's Takuma Sato, a newcomer to the IZOD IndyCar Series this year.
And you saw a little bit of the sprinkles just beating up on that nice paint job there. And when it's just raining just a little bit like this, that it just kind of glosses stuff over, and I think for the driver, that's the toughest scenario you got. Tire designation?
These are the drivers that chose black. Everyone else chose red to review. Red is the alternate, softer of the Firestone Firehawks. The blacks are the harder, not harder, more durable is the better term. And you would do that typically on a hot, sunny day, but now you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not sure I want to be on primaries. But by this particular shot here, I don't think the tire designation will play. If there is rain, they cancel that. You can run whatever tires you want.
Yeah, and we just talked about how you're always looking for grip on this racetrack. The red tire, the alternate, is just a little softer compound. It's the same construction. It's a little softer compound, hopefully giving you a little bit more grip, therefore translating into a little faster laps than the primary black tires, like you say, are just a little bit hotter.
Pace car checks the racetrack before we get the command to start engines. How much of a difference is there between the red and the black?
Here, there's only one step. At some of the street circuits, this is the number of sets that you have to use. And in the race, in the dry, that final line there that you must use a primary and alternate, as soon as it's deemed that it's a wet race, then that all goes out the window.
And one more caveat to that with the black and the reds is you have to run a set of black and reds, like you said, but you have to do 2 green laps. So you can't just come in and satisfy it under yellow. It has to be completed with 2 green laps. That is going to change.
Jack Arute is our man on pit lane with an update. Jack?
Yeah, guys, let me show you. We are, in fact, the only location that has pit lane radar. And this radar here, we've been working with it, but you can see right down in this area here, there is a big red thunder cell. And that's the issue that we're dealing with. It is moved through, and in fact, the cloud cover looks much better. And I think that's the issue that everybody's dealing with in race control. It's basically going to be a dry race. We just had to avoid this, which we just now have. And in fact, the precipitation is subsided. It's almost, in fact, ended.
Well, that is very good news. Let's hope we can get it dry. But it does indeed throw another question mark into this whole scenario here.
Well, the whole idea that these guys have been out, it's been dry all day, and put grip and rubber on the pavement. Now you just put a little bit of sprinkle on that. That changes that surface to be an unknown when they take the green flag.
7 drivers in today's field are from Brazil. Rafa Matos, Helio Castroneves, Canan, Mira, Beatrice, Marias, and Mario Romancini, a newcomer to the IZOD IndyCar Series, moving over from the Firestone Indy Lights. So 7 Brazilians, and the rest of the field hoping to outdo all of those hometown drivers.
Wasn't that great to see sunshine on that? And just at the end of Jack's report, and talked about how it had stopped raining, and then see the sunshine on that Zambadrome straightaway. I mean, that I just would love to see the start dry. If it happens to something in the course of the race to have some showers, fine, but it's pretty hairy to try and start one of these races just with sprinkles.
And especially for all the effort, everybody going down to Brills, doing lap time, getting set up for it. You want to see a dry start, absolutely.
The fans are here regardless of what kind of weather we have, and they are excited about this season opener for the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series. Dario Franchitti will be on the pole for his 12th time in the IZOD IndyCar Series. And of course, as I said, he is the defending series champion. We're waiting for the pace car to complete its lap, and depending upon what they say when it comes back to the front stretch, we may or may not get the command to start engines.
And it was no doubt a good scene to see everybody taking the ponchos off when we went to the grandstands there. And sure enough, there is the pace car rolling to position.
Okay, well, we look good, so let's get this show on the road. Down for the command.
Pilotos, liguem seus motores.
Of course, the command given in Portuguese, but he did say, driver, start your engines. So.
Bilingual.
Yes.
But the drivers, I mean, I know Robbie and I, it's because we've been in this position that you know there's sprinkles, you don't know what's going to happen. When you're the driver in the seat and you don't know whether it's wet or dry, to know you're going to at least get the green on a mostly dry circuit, you're like, whew.
And in the 2 pace laps here, they'll do a good job of really looking at the circuit and getting it dry.
Take a little bit closer look at this race course.
We talked about it being the largest city in South America, and right in the middle, here is the track layout. 2.6 miles, to over 2 miles of it have been repaved. Right off the start, you're going to see a rhythm section down to first gear, that 1, 2, 3, 4, a nice long straightaway into another tight combination of corners, especially here. 7, 8, 9, then let her rip. 0.9 of a mile, the longest straightaway ever on an IndyCar circuit. And Robbie, really coming into turn 11 and turn 5, that's going to be hair-raising.
And we have heard from these drivers, they love this circuit because of these long straightaways that create good passing zones. The one thing about it, it's very bumpy, and you can see the cars move around. And anytime you get offline, you find new bumps that can really make it exciting. And also when you get outline, you don't have as much grip, and it can create all kinds of instances. This we saw a little bit earlier in the day. But the key big passing and braking zone is after that almost a mile-long straightaway, Jan, that you talked about.
Top trap speed in that area?
180 miles an hour. And Robbie, this is where you get it done.
And that is a great braking area just to pass somebody. And then you get into the concrete section where we got a ton of grip now.
And we are live now. The cars warm up their tires, get a feel for the racetrack as we get set for the green flag. Well, the first Peak Pole Award for 2010 goes to Dario Franchitti. He had the most poles last year. In fact, it wasn't just on street or road courses. He had poles also on ovals. Ryan Briscoe had 4 last year. Rahal, Castroneves, and others had 2. Here they are going down that long straightaway. And we take a look at the lineup. Tagliani and Franchitti on the front row. Second row, Justin Wilson and Ryan Hunter-Reay, a couple of drivers who have switched teams for this year. Back in row number 3, it's Will Power. The third car in the Penske stable full season, Tony Kanaan, starts in the 6th position. In row 4, Ryan Briscoe, along with Scott Dixon, 2 of the 3 drivers who battled for the championship in Homestead Miami Speedway last fall. Castro Neves and Sato in the 5th row. Back in row number 6, it's Simona Di Silvestro. She's had a great weekend. And Rafa Matos, one of the Brazilian drivers. 7th row, there's Danica Patrick and Hideki Muto, who moves to Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. In the 8th row, Alex Lloyd, driving for Dale Coyne in the Boy Scouts of America car, and Vitor Mira for A.J. Foyt. The 9th row, E.J. Vizo for Dan Weldon will start outside of that row. Conway and Romancini in the 10th row, and back in row number 11, it's Andretti and Ana Beatriz. Back in the 12th row, the final row, Mario Moraes and Milka Duno. So let's find out what the strategy is going to be as we once again go down to Jackaroo.
Like any road course, guys, it's all about track position. There's going to be 3 pit stops during the course of this event, but when to pit is going to be the key to determine whether you win or lose. There are 3 times that you pit. There are 3 kinds of pit stops. When you want to, when you have to, and when you should. The magic number is when should you pit. I think because there have been so many full course yellows and the way this racetrack is laid out, you're not going to need to pit under green. What you're going to want to do is you want to put yourself in a position where you are the first to pit in the final pit stop so you can utilize that track position. I'll give you one sneak guy that you ought to take a look at and watch all day. A brand new team, Alex Tagliani. Rob Edwards is calling the shots for that team, and he is loaded for bear. Guys, wouldn't surprise me if he found his way to IZOD Victory Lane.
Yeah, what a great debut for that team, and Alex Tagliani, a great start.
And the cars now begin to line up side by side. We have 6 onboard cameras that will complement our coverage here this afternoon. There's Dan Weldon in the National Guard car, starting in the 9th row.
No moisture, isn't that great to see?
Yeah. Here's Helio Castro Neves. He'll be starting in the 5th row, 9th position. Tony Kanaan will carry an onboard camera. He starts from row number 3.
And we're getting a really good shot at that long back straightaway here as you go to turn 11. It goes on and on.
Here's Ryan Hunter-Ray for Andretti Autosport, starting in the 2nd row. And a strong field of cars. We wish the drivers bonne sortie, good luck, as the Apex green flag waves and the IZOD IndyCar Series begins the 2010 campaign. Down into the first chicane, Dario Franchitti will have the advantage as they go there, in a mess here in the back.
Dixon gets spun around.
Oh, one in the air.
Wow.
That's Mario Moraes in the air.
And he's over Marco Andretti.
Wow.
Well, we knew they were funneling down into a first gear left-right complex, but boy, did it shake it up.
Briscoe's wing just flew off.
Yeah, and we're seeing more debris scattered throughout the racetrack.
And look at everybody trying to dodge all the little carbon bits that come off that wing.
Well, not a very good start for the series. Marco Andretti is the car that is under the 32 car of Mario Moraes. As the field comes through turn number 6 now.
It looked to me like one of the KV cars, Sato, was one of the first to make contact with a car ahead. Now, it was a bit of a freight train effect, but certainly Mario Moraes and Marco Andretti, that came from way in the back.
Yeah, so that happened under braking.
The first look, the first few rows get through fine, and then just look to the left of the screen, I believe, watch the KV car. There it is, Sato. Sure enough, just came in, and that started the mid-pack pileup. But then later, kind of the chain reaction, that is Moraes catching wheels with Marco Andretti and going right over.
And it looked like Marco was just trying to get out of the incident as well as Moraes going by. And it looked like, yeah, there's
spectacular footage.
Yeah, so Moraes lost it on the brakes going in.
And I think that's the same thing that set off Sato. When you pointed out Sato there, he was hard under the brakes, and the rear just came around. Watch that. There he is with the orange nose under braking. So he just has a little bit of rear bias, and that spun the car out.
And again, in too quick for the freight train, that is. That's like being on the highway and something happens when you have 2 lanes going to 1. Everybody checks up, and that happened at the back.
And that's Marco saw it all happening, but Rias was back behind him and just came in with some speed. It was like, oh, I can't slow it down.
Castroneves, and that was Sato coming in.
Oh, and Elio had contact.
No place to go.
Dixon, yeah.
But Marias, as he came in and joined that, like you say, Marco saw what was going on, probably was slowing up because he noticed it. Marias was further back, didn't really see it, came in with some more speed, and as he was trying to get all over the brakes to slow down, you know, just went over the top in a pretty spectacular fashion of Marco Andretti.
Now that section of the track that has been ground overnight has some debris that kicks up, and Jack Arute. Jack, what's the situation down there?
Fellas, let me update you. Marco Andretti has radioed to his crew that he is okay, but the severity of that accident knocked part of the radio communications out. He cannot hear his team, but who cares? We just wanted to hear from Marco.
Yeah, exactly. There's the 5 car of Takuma Sato, and here is Marias and Andretti. Wow, what a way to start the season. The Sao Paulo Indy 300, and we're nonstop on Versus. Still under caution at Sao Paulo, Brazil, because of a crash at the first chicane, and these 5 drivers have been involved, including Elio Castroneves and Scott Dixon, Andretti, Sato, and Marias also. And of course, the big pileup resulted when Marias went over the car of Marco Andretti. So it's going to be a while before we can get the track cleaned and under green. Let's take a look at what happened here.
If you could stop it here, I want to just highlight the car I think you really need to keep an eye on, and that's Sato. In the orange nose, let that roll, and you'll see that he was the first car that couldn't get it stopped and made contact. That's where the first happened. Then if we stop it here, we have an opportunity then to check out the second car. You really got to keep an eye on the black car of Marias. He also cannot stop and get to turn sideways. He didn't try to hit Marco. He just couldn't stop. Turn the car sideways and right up on top, and boy, the safety of those cars, at least from what we've heard, that Marco's okay. That's fantastic.
Elio Castroneves in the pits. He had a damaged front wing. He's been refueled and is out there once again. Here's his on board as we take a look what happened.
Look at all the dust from the concrete and the grinding they did there. Now, look at that. That's Sato on the right. So Sato was on the right side of him, got sideways, and he just ran over his nose. Really had nowhere to go.
Dario and Alex Tagliani and a few others were ahead of the wreck, but boy, it sure has reduced the number of cars we have in the race. And Marco Andretti is climbing out of the race car, maybe a little bit shaken up, but he appears to be in pretty good condition. Can you imagine having the car, however, land right on top of you?
That's Dr. Mike Ollinger with his hand on him. He is the doctor that travels to all the races. They have the same. The Hamacho safety team travels as well as the doctor. So those are familiar faces for Marco.
Good to see him walking to the ambulance. So under yellow because of an accident on the very first lap to begin the Sao Paulo Indy 300. Back in Sao Paulo, Brazil, there's the number 19 car of Alex Lloyd. We are under caution. Really went green for only a short period of time when we had a crash in the very first corner of the first lap. We have seen several cars come in for a pit stop during this caution. Elio Castroneves, Will Power, and Ryan Briscoe among them.
Yeah, and Power actually got hit right in the right rear at that incident. Just kind of lifted him. He went on. And another car, we don't see what happened to him, but Justin Wilson, he cycled through the pits. We thought he got through there cleanly, so I don't know what happened to him.
The entrance to the pit area here is just beyond where we had the crash. Just off of corner number 4, you turn hard to the right and enter pit lane. And it's a long pit road. You actually exit at the apex of turn number 6. So there's a big area of racetrack that is included in pit lane. Jack, we saw several cars come in during this yellow.
And you know what, guys? It makes a lot of sense to do so. First of all, if you're Helio Castroneves, you know, you want to come in, you want to have your car checked over. But he also came in too early. Tim Cindric apologized to him on the radio. But some of the others, like the 9 car of Scott Dixon, you want to come in, they topped off their fuel. Now, that may seem inconsequential because we've been running under caution since the drop of the green flag into turns 1 and 2. But it will allow these guys to go a little further than some of the people that have elected to stay out. They were already involved in the accident. So Jan Bikus, Robbie Buell, you know, it makes sense. Pit now, take on some more ethanol, and see what happens with some more full course cautions.
Jack, I do think that obviously, as you talked about, the windows get larger and larger the more yellow you have. But I think anytime, as you pointed out, that you have contact, Robbie, you don't ever want to take a risk on a tire being cut. If you've been bumped or you've run over debris, you just got to pit, because if you have a puncture under green conditions as opposed to making a yellow pit stop, that's a pretty good gamble.
Well, that's the difference between losing a lap and fixing your problem. Yeah. That's that simple.
It would appear that Sato, Andretti, and Marias are the only ones that are going to be out of competition. The others have been in to correct the damage caused by this accident in turn number 1 at the São Paulo Indy 300 on Versus. Some excitement in the first corner of our race here in Brazil. The big contact was between Marias and Andretti. Not the first time that these two cars have had a meeting on the racetrack. This is Indy last year, lap 1.
And if you remember, look at that. Marco was not very complimentary of Mario coming over on him, and we may see more of that this year. Right now, we're starting the year in 2010. This is not a good way to get the love affair off with.
At the very back.
Watch him right now. There's a black car. He gets sideways and up and over. Put your head down, Marco.
Marco is okay. We saw him get out of his car. Jack, you have more from the pits.
Well, don't be concerned if that bad blood continues. Mario Marias is the first one, as you saw, out of his car. Was invited to come down here and tell us his version of what happened. He said very hotly, I respectfully declined. Let me see if I can calm down, and then maybe we might come back. Think we might be able to get Marco Andretti as soon as he is checked out and released. But it's fairly obvious when you talk to both teams that they too remember what you just showed. And that, of course, is what happened in Indianapolis.
And, Jack, I think for Mario Marias, what he's going to be upset about, he's going to be upset at himself. He knows that he was at the back. He came in. He overcooked it. That certainly no way could you say that was Marco Andretti's fault. Now, there was some difference of opinion at Indy. They're running side by side. Who gave each other room? And, of course, they had lots of colorful things to say about each other. This one, Mario Marias, you know, he's in his home country, and he overcooked it. So he's going to be upset at himself.
Well, hopefully we'll get that soundbite from him and see what he says.
So 6 laps have been completed, and none of them really under green. Marco has been checked at the care center and released. That is great news. Boy, for a scary looking accident, it's nice to know that he is not injured at all and has been cleared to drive. But the car will not be in drivable condition, at least for this race.
The one thing that hopefully will unfold here is with these long straightaways, sure, we really haven't had our full lap of green flag racing yet, but guys that have shuffled to the back and have come in and topped off their fuel tanks, part of what really is allowing them to do that at a lot of street courses, hey, it's really tough to pass. But the opportunity that is presented here with these long straightaways, these 2 long straightaways, guys maybe feel, hey, if I do have a faster car, I can get my way back to the front.
The Homacho safety team slowly going down. That was the same area we saw a wing fly off. I believe that was from Briscoe. So they want to be sure there's no carbon fiber laying around on the racetrack, because that could cut a tire, and that could definitely ruin your day.
Before Indy this year, we race on only one oval, so a lot of street, road, and circuit racing.
So Briscoe
there you can see that Briscoe made another pit stop.
But he didn't actually stop, though.
There is the exit to the pits off of corner number 6, and you have to keep all 4 wheels under that yellow line there on the left of your screen.
Now, he'll be told by race control that he has to go back to where he was. That was kind of a clever idea. Let's go through the pits and pick up quite a few spots, but they'll say no.
I don't think so.
Because he actually didn't go into his pit box for any service there. He was just trying to drive through pit lane and grab some spots.
It's a clever idea.
Didn't get away with it.
Well, he hasn't actually physically been moved back yet, but we anticipate that'll happen.
A for effort.
Yep.
Or maybe more. We'll see.
More on the schedule before the Indianapolis 500. The Indy Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park will be on April 11th at 3 o'clock. That is a natural terrain road course. And then, of course, the Grand Prix of Long Beach on the streets of Long Beach at 3:30 on April the 18th. The next race in the series will be on ABC. That is in St. Petersburg. And then after Long Beach, they will race on the oval at Kansas before going to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the month of May.
Had a nice shot while you're doing that, Bob, of he just slots into position, Ryan Briscoe. So he's picking up the spot where he's supposed to be. It did look like they were going to do something on the car and change their mind. I don't think they were trying to pull a fast one there, but you never know.
Come on, Jan, come on.
All right, one more lap and we will go green. And hopefully a much safer and more entertaining start than that one.
Yeah. But I mean, what's tough here, this is going down into turn 1, right where that incident was. This is the slowest corner on the track, down to first gear, and you know, just you got all the anxiety, excitement of the beginning of the year, and that's what can happen.
Jack, we're going to be going green here before long.
Yeah, that little move by Team Penske did not go unnoticed up and down pit road. You should have heard the radio traffic to all the drivers, led by Mike Hull to Scott Dixon, saying, hey, listen, they just figured out a way to pick up spots. And everybody calm down, and here in Brazil, we like to do it a little slow and easy.
And that's a funny comment because I talked to Mike Hull before the season, and I said, what do you do to always improve yourself? You guys are the one that's everybody's shooting for with your dominance. He said, my job is to manage the frustration. So just keep everybody calm, keep them on focus.
Sometimes that ain't easy.
No, not in this sport. Not everybody out here wants to win. You want to be the fastest guy of every session. You want to be, you know, if you're back fighting for 15th, you want to be 14th. But he says, manage the frustration. Is that what you do to us, Bob?
I was just going to say.
I am much less successful at that. All right, getting set for the restart now. Still on the backstretch. They will come down to the hairpin, turn number 11, and then stand on it.
And like we say, nobody really knows what the other guy has. We talked about downforce level being part of this package. Who's got more downforce? Who's got little downforce? We don't know because we haven't gotten in the rhythm here to see what guys have at the end of these long straightaways because of our first, didn't really get through that first turn of the first lap, did we?
So what do you think, guys? Since they're in single file formation, we're going to see everybody make it through 1, 2, 3, and 4 successfully this time?
Unlikely.
Well, you got guys further back.
Nice.
You know, this is the time to take advantage of opportunity.
Here we go. Off of turn number 11. And the Apex Brazil restart happens, and we are back to racing. Everybody down that front stretch with a little bit of dust still being kicked up. Here they come through that section that we had the problem in, turns 1 and 2.
Danica was kind of protecting the inside there a little bit. Not that anybody was challenging her, but she just took that even choice away from anybody.
There's 3 and 4, and everybody appears to be okay. So down one of the long straightaways, we'll call this the front stretch here, as the drivers get on the accelerator hard for the first time. And look Look how bumpy it is. Jack Arute is standing by with Marco Andretti involved in that scary-looking crash on the first lap. Jack?
And a heck of a way to start the 2010 IZOD IndyCar campaign, but from your perspective, do you have any idea what happened?
Yeah, we got hit from behind. I mean, normally when you can't see a foot in front of you, something inside your brain should tell you to lift. But I don't know, just a big disappointment for the Venom guys. But you know, I guess we can't expect much more. When we start in the back, we caught a penalty in qualifying, unfortunately, because Matos and I got together. But it's amazing that it just slipped away that easily, because you know, it looks like the Andretti Autosport cars are beginning to get some pace. So now we just pull for them.
How tough was it to be in the cockpit for as long as you were while they peeled that other car off of you?
Yeah, well, I need a minute to get my bearings anyway. I mean, hit my head pretty hard, but you know, fortunately we're all right.
Thanks, Marco.
Thank you,
guys.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us, Marco. Good to see that you are okay.
He was really relatively calm about what had transpired there, wasn't he?
All right, first is Franchitti, second is Tagliani, then comes Ryan Hunter-Reay, TK, Rafael Matos running in 5th position, on board with Tony Kanaan.
Look at the suspension move on that right front. It just gives you an idea of all the bumps and undulations that are there in that pit straightaway.
Now, of course, he's following Ryan Hunter-Reay. We just heard from Marco Andretti talk about, now I've got to pull for Andretti Autosport. Well, making your debut, Ryan Hunter-Reay is leading, at least at the moment, ahead of Tony Kanaan, which is known as being essentially the team leader. So fantastic debut for Ryan Hunter-Reay in this race in the IZOD car.
And Hunter-Reay, it looks as though when we just watch a little bit of his shots, he's got really good entry speed, the way he's rolling into the corner. So he really comes up on the back of Alex Tagliani, under braking and rolling into those corners. So he's going to keep trying to fill his mirrors to get by him.
Justin Wilson has dropped back to 16th position. He pitted during the caution, trying to work his way back up. There he is in the Z-Line car. He brought the Z-Line sponsorship with him to Brian Reinbold Racing, or it came as a separate entity. But that's the same sponsor he had last year with Dale Coyne Racing. There is Tony Kanaan running 4th, about 2 1/3 seconds behind the leader, Franchitti.
And we really don't know why Wilson had a pit. We thought he was through that start there, and I think Jack has some more for us. Jack, what can you tell us?
Jack is a long way away. There's Danica Patrick running back in 10th position. She's about 9 1/3 seconds behind, and right behind her is the Dad's Root Beer car being driven by Mike Conway.
Who we knew was showing some speed earlier and had made it into that top 12, but unfortunately he brought out a full course yellow, and they say, sorry, we're going to take those 2 fastest laps away.
All right, we'll try it with Jack once again. What's the story on Justin Wilson, Jack?
You know, it's a good thing that we have Verizon as an IndyCar sponsor. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you about Justin Wilson. Remember, we talked about it yesterday. We said it, over 6 foot tall. He bangs his knees all the time. Well, I had breakfast with Justin this morning, and he said, it's amazing, Jack. My knees are bruised, but he showed me his elbows. And he said, the long back straightaway is so long and so bumpy. He said, my elbows look worse than my knees. How about that? He's getting banged around like he's playing under the boards in the NBA.
And we saw a classic pass into turn number 11 in the braking zone as Scott Dixon weaves his way through the field.
And that was Simona De Silvestro, who's had really a great weekend. She's been quick in a lot of the sessions and has been doing a great job as a debut.
Very impressive. Scott Dixon 13th, and Simona De Silvestro is running in 14th position. Scott Dixon got the position at the end of the long back straightaway, headed into turn number 11. Back with more on IndyCar Nonstop on Versus. the start of the race, but we are green right now. Dario Franchitti leads Alex Tagliani, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, and Rafael Matos. So we have 2 Brazilians in the top 5. And Dario, going back to last year, has led 5 consecutive races. He has led 3 of the 7 road and street races last year, and he won all 3 that he led. But Tagliani is not letting him get very far ahead.
Dario has just an incredible ability to just take it up 1 notch to lay that lap down he needs in qualifying. You know, just to go a little bit beyond, as well as his teammate Scott Dixon. Both those guys really know how to dig deep to get that extra little bit when they need it.
5th and 6th go by. Here is the 7th place car of Muto. Then we have Danica and Mike Conway and others involved in great battles. Ryan Briscoe is another driver who is moving up through the field after an early pit stop.
And that was Briscoe sneaking by the inside of EJ Vizo, and then Dixon wanted to take advantage of that too, but now he's still tucked behind him, but he's going to be just pushing all over the back of that number 8 KV car. Yeah,
Dixon is right behind the car of EJ Vizo, which is the only KV Racing technology car left in the race of the 3 that started. Here is a replay of Elio Castroneves a few laps ago. That's Di Silvestro ahead of her. And the front wing on the right side is askew.
Yeah, that's just that one splitter that it's not the outside end plate of it. It's just a splitter that is on kind of the second element of that front wing.
He has been able to get by Simona, so he moves up to 16th position, Elio Castroneves. Jack?
This is the first time in as long as I can remember, in fact, in all of the IZOD IndyCar history that Elio Castroneves has driven in, that he's working without his former chief mechanic and outside front tire changer, Rick Reineman. Reineman, approaching the age of 60, has been replaced by Sean Hanrahan. And I talked to Tim Cindric about it, and he said Rick was not at all happy about the decision to, this year, leave him back in the shops in Charlotte, North Carolina, and work on developing new ideas and new approaches to the IndyCar competition on pit road. So a shout out to Rick Reineman, who for the first time and as long as I've covered IndyCar racing is not here at a race.
And he was one of those guys that I always look to that in terms of just a crew chief and leading the charges, he was always as quick as anybody in changing that right front. I mean, he just set the standard of professionalism and just doing it right consistently.
Watching Ryan Hunter-Reay try to get 2nd spot from Alex Tagliani. Good battle for 2nd position there as Tony Kanaan looks on.
But you really have to be able to put Tagliani in perspective here, that you have leading is a Chip Ganassi target machine, and you got 2 Andretti Autosports. These are huge established teams that have all the data. You're looking at a car for Tagliani running in 2nd place that just got put together. It was built around Alex Tagliani. So yes, you can buy one of these cars, and essentially they have some great experienced people, but he's running right up there with them.
And just as we say that, that's Ryan Hunter-Reay tucked into the inside as they're going towards 11.
Oh, they bang wheels, it looked like.
Wow, looks like Tagliani's got some great straight line speed. He had to tuck back in. He pulled out, and there was nobody home. So nice job on the setup there, boys.
And that's what's fallen in line when we said that Ryan Hunter-Reay could really zoom in on the back of Tagliani in the tighter section because he's got more downforce. But when they get on that long shoot, we saw Ryan Hunter-Reay pull out, but he stalled out, and Tags kept the position.
Yep. The team principals for the FAS team is Andre Ozzie, who is an entrepreneur from Montreal. Also Jim Frudenberg and actor Jason Priestley, who at one time, of course, was a commentator on the IZOD IndyCar Series telecasts.
And Rob Edwards is managing that team. He's been around a lot. He's been with Derek Walker. He's been with lots of different teams, or his longest tenure, of course, is with Walker Racing. But that's fantastic. You can pull some people together and run at the front of one of these races.
And you talk the next kind of key component. Like we said, he's got some really good guys around him with that fast racing team, is Alan McDonald, who was TK's engineer last year. We know TK and Alan, they never really kind of meshed, but Alan McDonald, he's been with Andretti Green at the time. I believe he won a championship with Franchitti in 07 there. So, I mean, that's some deep knowledge. And Tags can wheel a car as well as anybody when it comes to a street race. I think back when he got in Conquest car at Detroit, that second day, all of a sudden he was up into the top 10 and never been in a Dallara IZOD IndyCar Series car before.
When CART raced in Rio de Janeiro in 2000, Alex Tagliani was the pole sitter for that race. Well, it's still Dario Franchitti leading Tagliani. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon is fifth in the São Paulo Indy 300 on Versus. Franchitti, Tagliani, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, and Dan Weldon. And Dan Weldon tops the list. Those drivers who have made the biggest move. Started 18th up to 5th. Mike Conway has got 9. And finally, Ryan Hunter-Reay gets second position from Alex Tagliani. He worked on that for several laps and finally got the job done.
But he showed some great patience in doing it. So now he should probably stretch that out, especially getting into the twisty section now.
So Tagliani, Jack, will drop back to third position ahead of TK.
And Bob, what's happening is they go down in the low to 22 gallons of fuel. Tagliani is reporting to Rob Edwards the car is starting to go just a little bit loose. Figure the Tags and the rest of the front runners should be coming into the pits in probably 10 to 11 more laps. So Tags figured it was smarter to let it get by rather than try and do a tussle with Ryan Hunter-Reay at this point.
And another point is, as we heard, Tags' car is just getting a little bit loose. So that means he's just kind of struggling to put the power down. But just make note, he started this race on the alternate Firestone tires, the reds, the ones that are a little softer, a little bit more grip. Now, TK, the guy racing him right now, Tony Kanaan has done an excellent job of staying with this lead pack, being on the primary black tires, which usually maybe aren't as fast. But they probably have a little longer shelf life than the reds, just because they're a harder compound, and they're designed to be that way. That's part of the give and take of the red Firestones versus the blacks.
Here he comes.
And he'll make the pass to the inside, locks him up. No, he's not going to be able to do it.
He was being optimistic, wasn't he? but sometimes that optimism can take you out of the race. He did a good job of getting back behind him, and he'll keep pressuring him.
From Justin Wilson's onboard camera, looks like we have a banner that has come off of the side of the wall, and
the car ahead of him, which shown previous lap was Will Power, looked like it might have rubbed the barrier, just peeled a little bit of that off and just went right up over the camera.
As long as it took the camera and didn't get over his face, that would be the problem.
Now remember, there is, again this season, there is the overtake button. And it has been somewhat improved. Last year it was about 5 horsepower. They've made some changes. They've taken away the fuel trim on the steering wheel, so now it's 9 to 10 horsepower. So when you're dragging down that long 9/10 of a mile straightaway, overtake assist, as we call it, is still in play. You get 22 seconds for each of those presses.
And Scott Dixon and Ryan Briscoe have used that button most here in the first few laps of the race.
But a follow-up to that, let's keep in mind, when you look at the pushes available, they're available, you get 22 seconds. But for a road course, they're maybe not as impactful as an oval. It's still a good tool, but not as impactful as when we go super speedway racing.
And Jack, they can't adjust the fuel from the cockpit, so they do have the overtake button.
And it's become very valuable for everybody. But, guys, I've been really taking a look at what's been going on so far with those guys that pitted after the first full course yellow. And I defer to Jan here because he is the professor. But it's my opinion that right now you got to like Justin Wilson, Ryan Briscoe, as far as what they're doing. Because if they get a big chunk of yellow, they might be able to do this sucker in one more stop. Now, I'm looking at it, Jan, and I'm saying these guys could go far. It could go just about to lap 68 or 70. It's going to be kind of interesting. And you see, they're starting to carve their way up through the field already.
Yes, Jack. Jack, I think it would take, you said, a heap of yellow. It would take quite a bit at this point. The gamble that they played about coming in and making sure they didn't get cut tires is a good example of Justin Wilson, and that disarrayed wing there for Castro Neves. But at the moment, everybody is on a two-stop strategy, but now we go full course caution, so we'll have to see.
That is
wave those yellows up there, and as they come into this 3-4 section, wave those yellows because she's right in the line.
I will say that when the pits are closed now, that when they do open the pits, I think most everyone will pit. Here's the Justin Wilson move.
Justin Wilson and Elio both got to the inside of Hideki Muto to pass him in turn number 11. Pits are closed. The full course caution is out because of the stalled car of Milka Duno, again driving for the Dale Coyne team this year. On board with Elio, he has moved up to 14th position.
So to follow up on Jack is saying, if you're the leaders, I would pit now. If I was someone who pitted early because of a possible tire cut, and I had taken on some fuel, this would be the time that I would roll the dice and let the other people pit and get my track position back.
How about you, Mr. Buell?
Well, the one thing is they've done a pretty good stint. Even if you did come in and top off with that fuel, you know, how many more green laps can you get? And it's part of a risk because they always say yellow breeds yellow, so you can maybe come back in. I think right now is, even if I did top off, we've run so many green laps, I probably would come in. So we'll see what Dixon and Wilson do.
Well, here's the one upside. The one upside, even if everyone does come in, if you've already had a splash of fuel, theoretically, your pit stop would be a little bit shorter, and you can pick up some track position there.
Excellent point. And don't make light of what you just said with that. That is how this game is played. Just because they don't have to spend that extra half a second of fuel putting in it because they have more in there. That's the difference of getting track position on these street races. That little minute detail. That's why you're the professor.
Dario has led all the way so far since the drop of the green flag. Ryan Hunter-Reay, who had a great run last year at St. Pete, is running in second position. Tag, TK, and Weldon are your top 5.
You know who's breathing a sigh of relief is Tagliani, because he was taking a lot of heat and said the car was going loose. Perfect time for a pit stop.
Target Chip Ganassi Racing is in its 20th season of open wheel racing, 7 championships, 74 wins, and 2 victories at Indianapolis. Now the pits are open, but remember now, the entrance to the pits is beyond those first 4 corners after the start-finish line.
And you have the start-finish line, which is the concrete section, which is the front straightaway. But like you said, you have those corners, and then you have that long pit straightaway that's in front of the pits. So it's kind of a unique sequence of where the start-finish line is at this racetrack relative to pit road.
Right.
It'll be very interesting to see how many peel off.
I'm peeling off.
I fully expect the majority of this front group will all pull off. When you get down to 8th, 9th, 10th, then you wonder.
So you're saying Dixon and Wilson and Briscoe, you know what? Briscoe's going to stay out.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. But they also could go for the quick pit stop. We'll see.
Cars move through turns 1 and 2. Now a little bit of straightaway down to 3 and 4. And then after they come out of 3 and 4, you will see them dart sharply into pit lane.
And this is the pit window. We are in a real pit window for this first stop.
Yeah.
We're in the front end of it, but we're in it.
Okay, there's the entrance to pit lane.
They're all coming in. Anybody staying out?
That looks like part of the race circuit. That's pit road. Okay, there is
Tagliani. He's a new team, so he's not going to have the same pit selection. Mike Conway.
Wilson.
Jack, down to you for the pit stops.
As the pit stops continue to take place, one of the things you were talking about, how fast they are on pit road. Remember that they're able to go as they go to the tires and they're finished their work on Ryan Briscoe. They're able to go open until they get under the bridge. The pit speed limit does not start on pit road, guys, until you exit the tunnel that is the bridge overtake. So they've got room to make hay, even though they've committed to the pits. But by the way, Jan and guys, I kind of like the call that some of the others made by staying out.
like Simona De Silvestro, who now takes the lead. There weren't many. Who else? Is she the only one?
I think so. Yes, here comes Elia Dario.
Well, she's going to lead her first IZOD IndyCar Series race.
First race, and she's a leader under caution here at São Paulo, Brazil, in the São Paulo Indy 300. Stay with us for more on Versus. Back at São Paulo, Brazil, and look at the weather over to the left of the racetrack. It rained earlier, and Jack, is it going to rain again, or is that moving away from the track?
I got to tell you, Bob, I'm starting to feel like the hippy-dippy weatherman here. Remember George Carlin? Take a look at all these red cells. Now, again, this is Sao Paulo. This has been coming in at a pretty rapid rate, and I want to show you the thunderclouds are already developing up over where the Sambadrome is, where the start-finish line is, and all these pit crews have seen it. Thus far, thank God, have not seen any lightning.
And I also have an update when we were at that break. Simona De Silvestro actually pitted on lap 20. So she is back on the same sequence. She doesn't have to pit in a few laps. She can go all the way to the next window like everyone else. So she's actually leading this as a true leader because of clever pit work. And look at this race off the pit road.
Yeah, Canan gains a position. Tagliani loses one. Briscoe, the big gainer, along with Will Power. So Simona De Silvestro, in her very first race, leads. Can you tell me who was the most recent driver to lead in his very first IZOD IndyCar Series event? You don't have to go back that far. Like 2 years.
Ray Hall?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And before that, Patrick Carpentier. Simona De Silvestro, you survived your first test.
I was about to push the button on that. You know, you didn't push your button. You just yelled out, "Play by the rules, man."
By the way, we talked with Graham. For those of you who did not see our qualifying show yesterday, we talked with Graham by phone, and he confirms that he will be in the Sarah Fisher car 2 races prior to Indianapolis, and hopefully we'll have something full-time by that time. It was good to talk to Graham yesterday and know that he's got something in the works.
And pretty confident. He's been very happy with what he's seen over at Sarah Fisher Racing. I mean, he was excited about the opportunity. He's going to do some testing with them prior to showing up in St. Pete, which is really important to get that chemistry going with that new team.
So now you're doing your first race. You look in the mirror. You got Dario Franchitti behind you, as well as everyone else. You like getting the radio call. Okay, you're going to take the green. You got Dario behind you. I mean, that you go, wow. Am I dreaming?
I was in Sebring when Simona was doing her first test, or her first time in the IndyCar, and you could just tell when you went around and watched the corners that she was driving the car. The car wasn't driving her. You know, she was putting the car on the racetrack where she wanted to put it, in the proper point braking, going in, turning in, apex, track out. So she's holding that end of it up. Great job.
And Elio on pit lane once again. See what they do here for Elio in the late stages, hopefully, of this yellow period.
Going for the
Puts
front
the
wing.
reds on.
Now, is this a play with regards to the weather that's coming in, cooling off a little bit right now? We know it's going to be raining later. Let's get out and use our reds now until that rain hits.
That's, I believe, a case of just wanting to replace the front wing, and they've already lost a lot of track position in pitting anyway. And if it does rain, you certainly don't want to be missing a piece of that front wing. You need all the downforce that you can get.
But also go to the reds, because if we see the rain's coming, we shouldn't save these to the end. Let's use them now, because we're going to have to put our rain tires on later.
We'll be going green this time around. The lights atop the pace car are out. And so Simona De Silvestro, who is last year's Formula Atlantic champion, moving into the IZOD IndyCar Series, will lead them to the green flag. And the IZOD fastest race lap so far has been turned in by Ryan Hunter-Reay with 1:29.9.
Well, so what that tells us, Jan, is we know he didn't have as much, he had more downforce in his car than Alex Tagliani when he was racing him, but that downforce obviously pays off. through the corners here, but also when you have to have downforce to give you grip and acceleration onto these straightaways, that's a better trade-off than being trimmed out for speed at the end of the long straightaways.
There we go.
Apex Brazil restart. Back to competition. Let's see how Simona handles the situation as they race down into turn 1 as Paul Blevin gives the drivers the green flag.
He's working that green flag too, wasn't he? Putting the power down. You see Simona, just that rear end. I'm going to put that power down.
Boy, her heart rate had to be pegged coming up there to get that green. Once she gets down through her first couple corners, she'll start to settle down. Once she realizes they're not going to gobble her up too fast. Look at Hunter Ray is after it.
Yeah, and look at the gap that Simona has back to Dario. She's got breathing room. Just concentrate now on what's in front of you.
Simona is from Switzerland and has really established some great credentials in the Atlantic Series.
4 wins, 4 poles last year she had.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay is just all over the back wing of Dario.
Yeah, he's all over him like a cheap suit.
Simona now lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lots of actually Tagliani's an Arizona guy too as well.
So here's the run through turn 10 onto this long back straightaway. So let's size up the downforce package between Dario and Hunter-Reay. Let's see if Hunter can do something.
There's the rookie tracker. You can see that one car, Takuma Sato, is out of the race.
And sure
here
enough,
he is, Ryan Hunter-Reay, trying to get second from Dario, and does so.
So how that looked is they probably were they're very similar in their aero package, but Hunter-Reay's car is just working a lot better through the corners. But the way they kind of dragged each other on the straightaway, I would say their aero package is close.
And I was checking. I did not see any overtake assist there. So that was simply, as you said, Robbie, the speed of the cars on the straightaways and the aero mode.
We do have a local yellow in turn number 1, but it will not bring out a full course caution. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay looks for the opportunity for himself to take the lead.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it. There it is. Whoa, look at the bounce.
But can he stop? Can he stop?
You know, we talked about the bumps when you get offline, but I didn't think we were going to hit bumps and get airborne.
And
you see that?
Send sparks everywhere.
What a good job, because when you hit those bumps and you get airborne, obviously the contact patch, the tire comes off the pavement. Usually it lengthens your brake zone, but he did a great job.
And he's doing this on black sidewalls. He's on the primary Firestone Firehawks, and he's flying.
Well, you know, that reminds me of something. You know, we both read last night. He's the one guy that said yesterday, I wish we would have qualified because my car was so good when you had the concrete section that was so slippery. He's the one guy that said, I really wanted to qualify yesterday. That's confidence with his race car.
Jack, what's the latest on the weather from the hippy-dippy weatherman?
Well, they say it's coming, and I can attest to the fact that it has gotten as dark as it has been in Sao Paulo since we arrived. And the issue is right now, these cars are going to most likely have to go to rain tires. The wind is picked up. Everything, as you see, a dice for a position there between Danica Patrick and Ryan Briscoe. And remember one thing, if we have to go to rain tires, the red and black requirements go out the windows, fellas. If we go to a rain tire, you don't have to fulfill that. And that's what Di Silvestro has done. She's run the entire race on the red tires until her last pit stop. Oh, trouble.
TK gets hit by somebody.
And during all that, notice Briscoe tucked into the pits, guys, to maybe come in with tires. A lot going on real quick there.
Was it Tagliani that got into the back of?
I wasn't sure who it was.
Well, here's
Briscoe. So there's Briscoe going to the race. You notice how he had just gotten passed by Danica and was being hounded by Conway? And now it's yellow.
Wow, hometown hero. The fans are not going to like this.
And we're still local yellow. The track is green as we speak right now.
I thought it looked like it might have been a KV car, but let's first of all, just listen.
And he's going to get lifted in the air right here. Whoa! And we didn't see who that was.
Well, Tagliani was right behind him.
Well, that would be...
Yes. No. Tagliani got pushed by
Weldon is.
No. Let's make sure that's Weldon or.
Sure.
I don't know. There's a couple red, white, and blue cars. Let's
Weldon
pull
was
that
running
back.
5th, so I think it was.
Okay. We still need to confirm that, I think.
So, yes and no. Yes, it was Tagliani, but he was helped.
Right. He, too, was a victim.
He was punted.
Well, Ryan Briscoe is the first to go to rain tires. Here is the replay of the tire change. Jack kind of rolling the dice here, hoping for a wet racetrack, huh?
You know, so many times, and the rain is beginning to come, guys. Now we're starting to feel the drops. What a great call on the part of Roger Penske. When that yellow came out, that local yellow, he called his driver in. Let's go to the rains first. Everybody else is going to have to come in eventually. Believe me, we're starting to see the big raindrops. And guess what? Ryan Briscoe will just be able to matriculate his way, as they say, through the field.
Yeah, you can see it's getting pretty wet there on the backstretch.
And this is the worst part. Right when that rain first hits, you got the oil that's coming up through that brand new black tarmac. It is, I don't know how you describe how slick it really can be.
It's like on ice.
It is, and you got that big surface area of the Firestone slicks. That just exaggerates everything.
And the scary part is you don't know how wet the next corner is going to be because you haven't driven through there yet.
Exactly, and it's just coming down versus when it's just pouring rain and you've been out for a lap, you know what to expect for the most part.
Now, TK, of course, just got passed and went a lap down. He was involved in that incident, so he was in the top 5 and is still running in 3rd on the track, but is not in that position. And look at them go into the pits.
Hunter Ray stayed out.
Simona stayed out. And let's keep track of where Briscoe's going to cycle through. We saw him peel in and take tires before anybody else, as Jack was just saying.
Waiting for Tony Kanaan. Oh, the 23 of Anna Beatrice is not going where she wants to go. Here's TK stop.
She found out how slick it was with a little bit of rain.
Tony has a lot of ground to make up because of that little incident there. Justin Wilson almost colliding with his teammate, Conway.
That's not good, huh? That's not good.
What do you think about that?
Well, they didn't hit. Maybe that's the beginning of their love affair. I don't know.
Franchini comes out, so does Scott Dixon. You can see how big those raindrops are as Dan Weldon relinquishes a spot in the top 5 to make a stop.
And look how much slower things happen out on the racetrack now. Just, I mean, we still are green. It's not we're under yellow, but just the slick nature of this racetrack now. This brand new black tarmac. It really, with the heat they have there, it must really just bring up that oil and be slicker than...
We might mention that the reason this race started so early in Brazil is because on a normal day this time of year it rains about 4 o'clock. Well, it didn't today.
Came a little bit early.
A little bit early.
Oh, Ryan Hunter-Reay
missed the corner.
Remember, he didn't come into the pit, so he's still on slicks.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to come in right now. Yeah. But no penalty for what he did. He just missed the braking point. He didn't overtake anybody.
Danica spins.
Same place that we just saw.
Romancini.
Mario Romancini, another graduate of the Firestone Indy Lights, and the full course caution comes out as cars are slipping and sliding everywhere, Jack. It's a real skating rink out there.
And Bob, if you take a look at some of the camera shots as we come around the racetrack, you'll see what looks like little snowballs. There are actually areas on the racetrack where hail has begun to fall. So next thing I guess we'll have is locusts. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can almost see the size of the raindrops is too big, really, for normal rain, and we kind of suspected there might have been a little bit of hail.
Watch the blend line when Hunter-Reay comes out here.
Where is Briscoe? That's what I want to know.
And we have a car that has made contact with the wall.
Is that Alex Lloyd, guys?
It looks like the Boy Scout Dale Coyne entry to me.
So I was just about to say, when the rain hits, look at it, it's already puddling on that back straightaway. When the rain hits, you just have to go anywhere on the racetrack to look for grip. You got to throw out what you know of a practical racing line and just search for grip. Avoid puddles. It's crazy. It's a whole different setup to the car and everything.
Heavy rain falling on the streets of São Paulo in the São Paulo Indy 300. Stay with us on Versus. Kinds of things happening on the race course here in São Paulo. Alex Lloyd was the car that had obvious contact with the wall because the rear wing is not where it should be. So that's one reason for a full course caution. But the main reason is because of the incredibly hard rain that is falling right now. Danica Patrick, we saw her spin down in turn number 1. She's in the pits for a new nose. The GoDaddy.com machine rolls back out there.
If you could, too, with pit stops right now, we may take a replay. Let's take a look at what happened.
This is Danica.
Under braking, just simple braking as you're coming into turn 1 there.
Gonna hit the tires and break the nose.
So something else you would want to do coming into pit road right now, if you had time, as maybe these guys do on a close yellow, is anything you can do to this race car to make it softer, or if you have time to put more downforce in the car to get grip in these conditions. Those are some of the simple, quick things you want to do when you get this rain like this.
You will notice at the top of your screen there is no rundown of how the cars are running, and that's because this storm has knocked out communications to not only us here in the studio, but also to the teams at the racetrack.
At least we have this.
We do.
We got this. Isn't this good?
So there was a visibility problem at the start of the race because of dust being kicked up here on the straightaway. Now it's a problem with heavy rain and spray coming up from the cars. Back at São Paulo, heavy rain falling on the race course. And we're coming up to near the halfway point. Now, this could become a timed race, but we have no confirmation of that right now. And as we will repeat, we have no timing and scoring information either at the track itself or here in the booth. And look at the incredible amount of water that has fallen.
And Bob, when Tony Kottman designed this circuit, they knew they could have this kind of rain, and they decided when they laid down the pavement not to make it flat, to leave the crown in the road. They knew that this could happen. In fact, that's why the race was scheduled early, so they have taken drainage into effect. Of course, you got to wait for it to stop coming down in monsoon proportions, but they have made provisions for drainage. So hopefully, as this thundercloud moves on, it'll drain and we can get going.
And there's nothing worse than going down a straightaway and hitting standing water, because as soon as you hit that with that big surface area of the Firestone tires, you just instantly hydroplane, and you absolutely are just holding on for the ride or let go of the wheel. At that point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ryan Hunter-Reay is, we assume, the leader of the race. Roman Cini has spun once again for Conquest Racing. The dolly on the side pod is a soft drink in Brazil. Jack has more on the weather situation. Is it improving any, Jack?
Yes, indeed it is, Bob. I'm checking the radar right now, and it shows me that the major storm cell has begun to pass. And I'm looking out my window as I'm here, have taken cover like everybody else. Guess what? I see the sun and the clouds have broken up. I'm going to go on the record and predict we've got about another 5 minutes of rain, and then we'll begin to have that Brazilian drying process.
All right. We're on lap number 33, and here are the top 5. Hunter-Reay, Will Power is second, Franchitti third, Dixon is fourth, and Mike Conway is running in 5th position.
Nice move for Mike Conway. Again, we need to get those confirmed because, as you mentioned, timing and scoring is down, not just out of Brazil, but in Brazil.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be some sorting out of who was where as they went full course.
And we didn't see Briscoe in that top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought with that early move that they made, Team Penske, to come in and put those reins on, it looked to be pretty good. But obviously where and how we cycled through.
Well, here's the way you cycle that out. The very first person put on rain tires was Briscoe. The very last one was Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Ryan Hunter-Reay is leading. So
and Briscoe's back in the pits.
Exactly. So it just turned out in this particular case, if you could keep it on the island and not crash, wait to get your rain tires.
And you notice what they're doing under yellow? They're taking the time. They're putting more downforce in that car right now. That's, you know,
that's the key.
What you need to do when it gets wet like this is make the car as soft as possible. So if you could disconnect the sway bar so that car can roll over and get grip, and then have obviously as much aero in it to push you down into the racetrack.
We have heard that there are more people in Brazil watching this race on television than in any other time in history. This is the most watched television show in history. Wow. Of Brazil. That's pretty cool.
So what do you guys, tell me what you guys think. Notice on Ryan Hunter-Reay's car, it has his name on that back wing.
Yeah.
And Mike Kelly from IZOD, that was something that he wanted. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a great idea. Under normal circumstances, when there isn't a spray coming up, it will help, I think, in identifying the driver of the car. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to bring the cars down pit lane and stop the race. They're going to take the brooms and other necessary equipment onto the track to prevent, or at least to hopefully get rid of some of the ponding. The ponding is the problem. Wet racetrack, well, it is a problem, but not nearly as much as you said, Robbie, about how you don't want to come up onto a puddle of water at 170 miles an hour.
And there is the red flags, which means, as you said, come down pit road, shut things down. We'll get everything sorted out, cleaned up, and hopefully this will push through, and we'll get back to.
And Jack Root said, looking out his window, that we're only 5 minutes away, so that would be good.
You know, the one thing that we haven't talked about of the changes you make to the car, the toughest thing when you're racing in the rain like this and on a street course in long straightaways is the massive rooster tails that these cars put up and the mist that's floating there. You can't see anything in front of you. You got to go off of references to the right and the left, because if you're looking ahead, you're not going to see anything.
Jack, here they come down pit lane, so the race will be stopped here for hopefully a short period.
Yeah, Bob, and the race is already stopped for a guy that really qualified well, Alex Tagliani in the B&W Bowers & Wilkins Special. Tags, tell us what happened that knocked you out of this race.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing, Jack. Obviously, we were running pretty easy all race long. Our car was fantastic, and tribute to the work of the boys. So, yeah, it's disappointing because I think Dan, you know, never broke, or I don't know what happened, and he just threw me up in the air into Tony's car. So, to end the race like this, it's you know, it's heartbreaking.
All right, thanks. We're glad you're okay, though.
Thank you.
Bob? I have a feeling we're going to be talking with him a lot during this season. I think that there are good things to come for that brand new team in the IZOD IndyCar season. Well, Ryan Hunter-Reay will stop behind the pace car with all the others in the race, and we have 19 cars that are still running in competition. And yeah, it's bad for those of us who are televising this race, but you kind of feel sorry for all these race fans who had hoped and looked forward to this event so much. And, well, who knows? We could have something for them to talk about before this thing is over. Red flag in the streets of São Paulo, Brazil because of rain. We will be back with more on Versus. Now there is the effort to get some of the water off of the race course. The top 8, Hunter-Reay, Power, Franchitti, Dixon, Conway, Matos, Wilson, and Mira. And you can see we have our information back from timing and scoring, and at the top of your screen you can see where everybody is running. Now when they go green, this is going to be a timed race. There will be 44 minutes of racing when they get the green flag. And as you can see, Jack is right there ready to talk with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Jack?
In fact, they've just given the word, Bob, that because it's going to take a little while, they're going to allow the drivers to get out of their cars. And you know what? Robbie Buell and I'm sure Jan can tell you, there's nothing worse than having to sit in a wet car and not be at speed. It's got to be frustrating. But for Ryan Hunter-Reay, driving, by the way, for the series sponsor, IZOD, and they've stayed with Ryan in the number 37, and as he gets out, we'll get a quick word with him. Ryan, welcome to the front of the field. I think that's all I can think about saying. I mean, this has been a good ride for you so far.
Yeah, I didn't expect getting out of the car like this, having to get back in. I really wish we were still out there because the biggest advantage in the rain is leading the race. And so we had that going for us, but hey, we'll just have to keep on going, having a blast with this team. And
let's talk a little bit about the pass that put you in the lead going by Di Silvestro. What actually went into it?
I just got a good run on her and got out. And I mean, Dario was the tougher one to get by. So I knew Dario was really for the lead of the race. So you know, it was tough, but the car is really good, and it's such a fine line between getting the right grip and absolutely just lighting the car up and sticking it in the wall right now with this.
We've been watching you, though, all weekend, and it's been great car control on your part. A lot of drivers have said it's kind of like riding a bucking bronco out there, but you seem to have mastered it. What is the key?
I don't know. I mean, we tend to do well with low grip, you know, adverse conditions races, and this is one of them. So we have to bring it home here, and we're going to have a big challenge from the back here. I'm sure the guys like the Ganassi guys and the Penske guys will be right there knocking on our door. But it's just been a blast with this team, and IZOD as a primary sponsor on the car. I'm really proud to have them up here, and it's just been a lot of fun. But I still have the biggest job yet to go do, so I'm not talking anymore about that.
Yeah, and I'm sure they haven't had a chance to tell you yet. It won't be laps now. It will be a timed race when we go back to green. So you'll have about 44 minutes that you're going to have to try and stay out front. Thanks for joining us for a couple of minutes.
Thanks a lot.
Ryan Hunter-Reay is leading for the first time since he won at Watkins Glen in 2008. And of course, the series sponsors his car, IZOD.
And did you see how hard he was working in that race car, how hot he was, how much he was sweating? So don't take for granted of how hard these guys have to work. And we saw that bumpy pass that he made on Simona Di Silvestro. Yeah. I mean, he's working his tail off in that car, and you know, he's pretty calm about it there, but you can just see it in his face how red he is.
That car he's so like nonchalant. Yeah, well, she wasn't that hard to get by. And right as he was talking, the car was in the air. Yeah. It was a great slow motion shot of the car flying through the air on a place he hadn't passed before, but that was nice.
And the one thing that the drivers are going to do on this one time they get out is they're all changing their visors. You hear that one official say, change your visor, guys. That's because water gets in between your tear-offs and it beads up. So you want to be able to see where the heck you're going and get a clean visor on there.
Well, the rain did not scare away the fans. They are still around, and they have taken off their rain gear and getting set for hopefully some sunshine and the completion of this timed race. Helio Castroneves and all the other drivers have been told to get out of their cars because it's going to take a little bit to get the ponded water off of the racetrack. We have 15 cars on the lead lap and a total of 18 still running, with Ryan Hunter-Reay leading at the São Paulo Indy 300.
All right, guys, so what do you do if you have a break in the middle of a race in Rio? If you're willpower, you decide to have a little bit of a bite to eat, a sandwich. I don't even want to dare try to figure out what you're eating there, Will. What's in between those pieces of wheat bread?
I think it's banana and honey. Very nice. Not very nice. Not really that nice, but good for energy.
I know you and I had a big conversation about the art of spreading Vegemite on wheat bread this morning, but I really want to talk to you, and if you can get a good look at what's happened to Will Power's hands down by his fingertips. They have not only become to blister, but I mean, they are literally bleeding beneath the gloves. That's how difficult this has been. How tough is it in the race car when you have that kind of feel?
Yeah, well, once I start pushing and racing, I don't feel it. When you're under yellow, you start to feel it again. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun out there. It's great to have the Verizon Team Penske car right up there, and we made a good call right at the end there. And as I predicted, it would be a wild race, and that's exactly what it is.
Let's talk about the fact now that it goes to a timed race, it's going to be about 40 minutes or so. And does that change the way you approach this, you and your team, at all?
Not really. I think, you know, everyone's going to have to do one more stop. You know, it's all going to be governed by how quickly the track dries. Everyone goes back to slicks. So, you know, maybe you'll have to do a splash at the end. I don't know.
I'm a little hesitant to ask you to go back to the start of the race because that could be one of the wildest and woolliest starts we've seen in quite some time. What was it like from your perspective?
Well, it was all fine until I got rammed from behind. I don't know who hit me, but yeah, I mean, I was taking it easy into the first turn. I mean, I was close to the guy in front, and then I got hit from behind really hard, and he cut my tire, and that was that.
I want to let you in on a secret. Now, Elvis Presley liked banana, too. He liked it, though, with peanut butter, not honey.
That's what I was told. The boys were saying that's what Elvis used to eat, so that's got to be good.
I'm really going to be in trouble, Bob, if he says, thank you very much.
Okay, Will Power running in second spot. Taking a little bit of a breather here under our red flag. Couple of things that I want to talk about. First of all, let me mention that since Marco Andretti was in the race such a short time, yesterday was his 23rd birthday. We need to talk about Gilles de Ferran and the fact that he has become a co-owner of the car that Rafael Matos drives, and we saw the feature on him just a bit ago.
Yes, and of course Rafael Matos talking about how he started racing in Sao Paulo. That's the same case for Gilles de Ferran. Said that only a few miles from this racetrack was where he drove his first kart, and that got his career started, and said that he knew this was going to be just another race until he got to Sao Paulo, and he said he just knew it was going to take on a different life. And so it's been an exciting time for Gilles de Ferran as a team owner now as well.
And how about for Rafa? And you guys know from last year, I'm a big fan of Rafa Matos and him coming up through kind of the racing ladder and winning championships all the way to getting a great opportunity with the Lusco Dragon team that now Gilles de Ferran's joined. But as a Brazilian driver and Rafa to have a go-to guy of Gilles de Ferran from, you know, the same homeland and just kind of asking, hey, is this real? Is this how it works? I mean, it's nice to have that in your back pocket.
And the other thing let's talk about is something that we learned about just last night from KB Racing Technology. The words Lotus and Cosworth are going to be back in the series.
Lotus as a sponsor, Cosworth not as a manufacturer, but as an engineering firm, of course. KB Racing stands for Kalkove and Vassar, and Kalkove being one of the principals of Cosworth Engineering. So they're going to take some of that engineering and revive an old name.
Yeah, and how great is it to have both of those names back with our sport in a different role, but at least part of the game. I think is great.
And in 2012, the IZOD IndyCar Series will change chassis. And during our qualifying show yesterday, we gave you a brief look at what the cars may look at, but Jan can further expound upon that. 5 manufacturers have indicated that they would like to get one of their cars.
This is one of the angles of the Dallara chassis they're thinking about using. You can see the fairings, the idea to take the drag away from the car. Lola is also going to make a challenge, and part of what they're looking at is that is the very same chassis, but use 2 different body packages, as well as the fact use the same chassis for Indy lights. For Swift, they have an idea of controlling the air a little different way, but those lights, they think about taking a clear plastic panel to show lights for fuel position, brake position, place in the race, things that the fans can see and identify. So all really nice ideas. And then there's a new challenger, BAT, which is Bruce Ashmore, Alan Mertens, Tim Wardrop, all engineers and designers who have been in the series. That is their concept. And then, of course, there is the challenger that you would say is revolutionary. That is the Delta Wing. We have the live model here. This is not a running version, but that's a full-scale model that has been milled out of one solid piece of foam. The idea behind this design, it was designed by computer to be one that could have an engine half the size, use half the fuel, but still go 230 miles an hour, specially made Firestone tires on the front. Look how narrow that is. It's still an open wheel car, but this shape came from being able to have cars run nose to tail A neat feature at the rear of the car as well, the engine is not an integral part of the chassis. It's called a non-stressed member. You could drop any engine into this car, so you could have competition against manufacturers. And a really cool thing at the back, the power distribution is done by an active differential, meaning that the way the power is put down, you could adjust it in the cockpit, and you wouldn't have to use staggered tires on oval. So definitely revolutionary. And in person, because we have it right here in the studio, I've seen all the pictures, but in person, this thing is radical.
Absolutely.
It is, and I think it's one of those, we have to have something radical like this to kind of prompt us of thinking, what is the future of IndyCar racing? This may be a little bit far on one side, but it prompts that thought process. And is this the car, is this a speed racer-like car that our fans 15 years from now are going to be used to seeing over here at the Indianapolis 500?
Yep.
Definitely a radical concept. If you swing over to the current generation car that we also have in the studio, the Dallara, such a different look, but it's been such a great car since 2003 as the sole car in the series. You can see how many appendages, how many things have grown on these cars to provide downforce. That's because it's very powerful. It needs a lot of downforce, just a different philosophy of brute force and just forcing it on the ground and making it look. The other one is all sleek and aerodynamic.
And that's the car that Graham Rahal will be driving. Well, we understand that within 5 to 10 minutes, the cars will be turned loose once again, and we will get back to racing. We are under red because of a tremendous rainstorm that passed over the racetrack a few minutes ago. We talked about Gilles de Ferran just a few minutes ago. Jack has caught up with the former IndyCar 500 winner.
And Bob, Gilles de Ferran is making some notes in his notebook. And, you know, as a reporter, I want to look over, and then I realized he's writing them in Portuguese. Very smart on your part. First of all, welcome back to IndyCar racing at this level in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Getting together with Steve Luxo and with Jay Penske, what has, first of all, been your biggest challenge? And second of all, what's it been like to work with those two guys?
I tell you, I'll answer the second part first. I mean, both, I know Jay for over 10 years, and he's a great friend, and working with him has been a pleasure. I mean, he's a very energetic guy, and highly intelligent, And Steve, I mean, he needs no introduction. I mean, he's a bit of a superstar, really, and I'm really learning a lot from Steve already. And you know, I guess getting started over here, a lot to do, a lot to take in, you know, and just trying to get some traction here, as he used to say.
Well, it's good to have you back, and we wish you the best of luck the whole season. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The winner of the 2003 Indianapolis 500, Gilles de Ferran. And it's also good to see this guy back in the cockpit. That, of course, is Vitor Meira, who returns to the A.J. Foyt team for the first time since Indianapolis last year, when he, of course, had a rather ugly wreck. Broke a couple of vertebrae and put him on the sidelines for the rest of the year. But Vitor is looking good here, running in 8th position at the break, 35 laps completed. And as you can see, the drivers are putting their helmets back on. And hopefully we'll get back to racing soon. Here is the crash that sidelined Vitor Meira during the 500 last year.
Going into turn 1. There's the contact with Rafa Matos, who we just talked to. Gilles de Ferran right before that, joined that team.
And boy, at real speed, you can just feel that impact. That was a big hit, and so great to see him back.
Track crew is working at the exit of the pit area at turn number 6. Shouldn't be too much longer. Stay with us for more of the Sao Paulo Indy 300. On Versus, we'll be back with more in just a moment.